Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 2 of campaign 4 of Critical Role. Now, normally I wouldn't say spoilers. For most of us who have been around the block on this channel for a while, we're aware this is spoilerific, but, you know, for those who are new around here, spoilers for campaign 4, just putting it out there. Also, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, and if you are subscribed and want to support the channel, you can consider becoming a member. It'll allow us to have better videos, better editing, better sound as I put that money back into the channel with like better mics, better editing software, etc., etc. So consider that if you want to support the channel. With that all being said, we can now get into the recap. We start with Taor, Azune, Cadigan, and Thimble. They all roll d4s. Azune and Cadigan roll 4s. Taor and Thimble roll 2s. Cadigan and Azune both have to make death saves. Loza Blade, the orc woman with Taor from last session, takes a few arrows to the back. She looks to be about 12 years younger here. She throws an axe into a man's head on the battlefield, and she yells to get back over the hill. Green energy, necrotic energy, begins to shoot overhead. A man named Milo gets hit by it, and his head comes off, and he dies. Azune saves his death save, but Cadigan fails. Puncture wounds are all over his upper body, and he begins to bleed out. Azune, 15 years old here, he's struggling to keep up with the others. He was trying to copy Taor and Cadigan on the battlefield, but he misstepped. Two sorcerers from the sundered houses begin to fly overhead. One of them throws a mote of light down at the party, and Taor yells to get down. It explodes. It's time to roll initiative. Taor, 18, Cadigan, 18, Thimble, 15, Azune is 6. Taor is first up, and he is first level. He sees both Azune and Cadigan down on the ground. He rolls a medicine check and gets a dirty 20. Taor watches a dwarf woman heal another ally. She says that guts are bad and limbs can stay. He then looks back at Cadigan and sees that he's far worse off. He can also see Thimble running towards him with Thiazi behind her. Thiazi is in his mid-20s, and he seems to be carrying what looks to be 8 gem-studded wands inside a tarp. Taor yells to close their ranks, and then he runs over to Cadigan, and with a medicine check of 18, he's able to stabilize him. Thimble is up. Thiazi asks Loza if the enemy has dropped back, but as he turns, a third sorcerer drops in out of the sky. The sorcerer is from the house Comare. Runes then begin to appear around Loza as a drake is summoned. Loza attacks the drake and says they didn't fall back. Thiazi creates 3 shadows of themselves, and they begin to run forward. Thimble goes off after one of the sorcerers and tries to stab him from behind. She goes for the Cormorant one and hits and deals 15 damage. This drops the concentration on the summoned drake, but it is still flying. Death save from Azune. He sees his dad's face and the time that his dad passed him off to some mercenaries and told him he's lucky for a second chance. He saves on the death roll and stabilizes. Something tells him it's not going to happen here. Thimble watches Thiazi get thrown into the air by something that hit him, and his shadows scatter. A shape then moves towards him. Wyverns are now in the sky, and Loza yells to fly back. The shape lifts up Thiazi and rushes forward. They run into the trench, and they are safe from the wyverns for the moment. The person looks up at Thimble, and it's Casimir. He says to Thimble that he's got him just in time to fall back. This ends the flashback, and we may learn the fate of Casimir in this session of Critical Role. We now go back to the second floor of Hal's home. Hal and Taisha just opened up Taisha's silver box with a ceramic mask in pieces that was moving within the felt, or the velvet of the box. Everyone else in the house can hear the rumbling as well. The two upstairs have no idea what they're looking at. Taisha says that this is what she was meant to give to Belair, actually, not to Thiazi. Taisha tries to move 2 of the pieces. Con save, natural 1. Hal tried to stop her but couldn't. Taisha touches a piece and there's a loud rumble. The piece then drops into the velvet and it turns into a mist that seems to swirl down. Every inch of the box is now ice cold mist. Or inside of the box is now an ice cold mist. Taisha hits the ground out cold. Hal casts healing word on her immediately and she's able to come back to consciousness. Taisha opens her eyes and they are a cold mist. A little creepy. Back downstairs, Vela starts walking up. Belair pushes past her, and Murray also follows up. Julian stays back to block Aranessa and says let others get hurt first. Sadia runs up as well. Olgid then blocks the stairs. Sadia yells mom when she sees her mother on the floor. Belair and Murray see the mist from the box. Arcana check from Belair gets a 24 on the roll. He sees the large box and sees that it has some sort of archaic version of Kessian, a halfling language, with celestial glyphs on it. He sees the word obsidia, a term no longer used for the tenebral reaches. Before the Shapers wore, the realm of death was just a veil of shadow for souls to quickly pass through. Undead in old ages were just a myth and legend. They were, if something were to resist the final resting place made by the gods, it must have been something insanely powerful. Obsidia is the name of that veil, but as the gods were destroyed, the veil expanded. The gods' realms were believed to be destroyed, and those souls that were there before were seemingly lost thanks to the mortals' actions. Some clerics say that the realms are still there, just they are no longer tethered to Ahriman. They tend to tell worried people that they are currently working on it. Belair thinks the box itself is new, but the silver plates on it are old. He realizes that he's looking at a coffin the size of a halfling. Belair asks what happened. Hal explains a little bit. Murray is upset they didn't invite her to be hotboxed. Crazy. Taisha looks at Valus and hears the call of a bird, but one that's not native to this part of the world. It's a call of a distant nightingale, and that sound never really leaves her mind. Taisha says that she touched it and then died a little bit. Belair freaks out about this, because touching things is dangerous. Don't touch things that you don't understand. Murray says that she'd bet her left tit the box has something to do with Valus. Valus is watching Sadia care for her mother. Belair has gaps in his knowledge about this box and knows where he can find more answers later. He feels in his stomach it begins to turn a little bit looking at the box. Belair gets Murray to close the box with a mage hand, and the room warms up a bit. Hal looks at Belair and tries to see if Belair knows anything. Valus sees that Hal and Sadia are both worried about Taisha right now, but Sadia is also very angry at her mother. Sadia has a look of disappointment on her 20-year-old face. I didn't realize that she was 25. I said 20, but it's actually 25. Hal rolls an insight check and gets a 24. He tries to sort of read Belair. He can tell that Belair is fascinated and angry at Taisha right now. Everyone's just angry at Taisha right now. That's not good fuel. I can feel it already. He can see that Valus is undecided on whether she's a threat to them or not. Belair wants to get the box out of the house. Murray wants to take a look at it as well. Belair says that he touched the wrong thing years ago and has had their mask stuck to his face ever since. He says people get hurt touching the wrong thing all the time. They should, they're better off not touching anything they don't know what it is for the rest of the night. Julian asks who touched what as he enters the room. Valus asks where the box came from. Belair says that he'll take it away and Hal will be the first to know of whatever he learns. He then puts a glove on and gives Murray the other glove, and they both pick it up from either side as it's rather large. It's a halfling box and one person can't carry it alone. Murray gives condolences to Hal and says it was a great funeral. They'll be in touch. She also notes that Thiazi would have loved it. Murray asks Valus to give the family some slack today, and she might be able to help Valus later. Valus says that there won't be any unnecessary murder. Sadia asks what about the necessary ones. Julian helps Taisha get back up, and they all go back down the stairs. Aranessa asks if Hal will need anything and looks at Valus. Hal says that he has nothing to hide, so they'll be all right. Belair and Murray take off in his carriage. Aranessa asks Julian if they're done here, and Julian says yes, and thanks Hal for his hospitality. Belair and Murray head to the Arcanod in the Lugzush, I'm hopefully saying that right, neighborhood, and Julian and Aranessa take off in their carriage. Aranessa says the dwarf woman with crazy gem teeth is nuts, and she was right that Thiazi would have loved whatever is happening today at his funeral. Julian says even in death, his machinations linger. He doesn't trust what's happening in that house. She doesn't either, but she doesn't trust what's happening in their house anymore either. She says that General Raymond is waiting for them at the manor. Julian sighs. Aranessa says it'll be good for him to see his father. Talzin, Matt, and Marisha leave the table. The funeral is coming to an end and only a few remain. Hal wants to talk to Valus, but first he calls over his daughter Hero. He tells her to get her lyre. Hal says that his brother's last day was filled with drama, much like his life. He has many things that he could say, but he and Hero will speak in a way that's best for Thiazi. He tells Hero to play Broken Wing, and the two of them play a song, and for those who were in the Falconers' Rebellion, find it familiar. It was played in taverns and military tents early in the conflict. Hal lets Hero lead and he plays around her. Loza, who fought in that war, a war of the people who realized that they replaced tyranny of the gods with tyranny of their own. Loza's eyes water and she doesn't cry, and she looks at Thiazi, another person that she's had to say goodbye to. Hal dims all the lights in the house with thaumaturgy except for the one between Loza and Thiazi, giving them the last little bit of light in the house. At this moment, Teor, Azune, Cadigan, Octus, and Thimble all join the table. Most of them hear the song from a distance as they walk up to Hal's house. Octus doesn't understand the song, rolls insight, and rolls an 8. He can't read the shift in the mood that happens to the rest. All of his friends hear the song and they know what it means, and he doesn't. They see Thiazi on the table. They see Hal playing. Thimble finally sees Thiazi for the first time. She flies over and lands on his chest and says that she's sorry and that she ruined it. She places her hand on his chin and asks what she'll do without him. She apologizes to Hal. The song ends and the light returns. Hal didn't think that he'd see her tonight. She says that she's sorry that she missed it all. She sees Valus and asks if she did anything about this. Thimble flies over right into her face and asks if she brought those men here. Thimble says that Valus came for the stone, but now it's gone. She then flies back over to Thiazi. Octus explains that the place in the safe house was ransacked. Valus can see that they are all telling the truth, as all of them sharing the same story would be, kind of difficult if it were a lie. Hal rolls an insight check on Valus to see if they were involved in Thiazi's death, and gets a 14. It's hard for him to read right now. He can't really read Valus all that well. Taisha can still hear the Nightingale song in her head as she looks at Valus. When the song from Hero and Hal come to an end, Aloza said, "I can still hear the falcons cry." Thimble sees a silver necklace with his wedding ring on it, Thiazi's wedding ring. Hal thinks back to his brother's wedding. He thinks of the nervousness that filled Thiazi. Aranessa entered the room, covering her eyes so she didn't see him, but it's supposed to be the other way around. She then gives him a flower that opens up, and Thimble comes out of the flower in that moment. Thiazi asks if the fairy is a gift. He's not really sure about this. Thimble says that she has her own free will. Aranessa says that he'll be entering her family, and thus he needs the protection of the Fae. She says Thimble is a warrior from the gardens, and Thimble says that she can kill mice and braid hair. He says they need to capture mice and braid their hair to keep everyone on their toes, and Thiazi says they need to get her a dress from the dollhouse. Thimble says that she's gonna like him. Hal notes to Aranessa that she just bought herself a lot of trouble, and Aranessa says everything about this is ill-advised. Thimble remembers the wedding being delayed because Thiazi needed to get her a new dress from the dollhouse. Thimble says they need to make this right, even though nothing will be right ever again. Octus says that they'll figure it all out, and Thimble notes that he's grown up a bit. Taisha asks Teor and Azune silently if they know what happened, and Azune nods yes. Azune goes to Thiazi and tells Thimble that he needs to check the rune on him. He then turns Thiazi and searches him, and on an investigation roll of 19, he finds a hidden pocket and finds a cheap ceramic inside. It has a hint of magic on it. Arcana check 13. He can tell that physically it's poorly made, and he's upset that he fell for it. Octus, however, can see that the magical part of the rune is actually very well crafted, and he can feel a very strong magic hum coming off of it. And it hums the correct type of magic, illusion and conjuration. Octus tells Azune that he didn't fuck it up. This was made to betray them. Azune says there's only two people who are unaccounted for, Sid and Casimir. Sid never showed up with Thiazi because Thiazi never teleported to the other side of the wall where the carriage was waiting, and Casimir is a member of the Crows. He knew every step of the plan, and there were crow feathers at the safe house. Taisha looks at Wulfric and sees him with armor on and sees that he has a spectral paw. She rolls a religion check and gets a natural 20. She goes to speak to Wulfric, but feels the bond between Cadigan and Wulfric and knows that it would be the second most powerful magic connection she tried to make today, and she chooses not to. But she just notes that, he shouldn't go in the fridge. If he needs anything for the wolf, they should ask. Teor asks how long Sid was working with them, and the party say about 2 weeks. Teor asks if he was reliable because he notes the last time he met him, he was not dependable. And that was years ago. Loza notes that Casimir joined the rebellion when he was young and wasn't part of the same troop as Thjazi, but they became friends. She also notes that Cid left and went west the last time they saw him, and that he used to steal stuff that he wasn't supposed to steal, and this is the reason he had to leave. Octus asks who brought Cid in, and Thimble knows Cid was closer to Thjazi than he was even with Casimir. They needed Casimir because he was a smuggler, and Cid was meant to be the driver, as that's his day job. Taisha and Octus were supposed to be waiting a ways off for Cid and Thjazi after he teleported through, and their last names, Lloyd and Taconis, would have helped them through some sketchy parts as they were smuggling him out of the city. They note the wagon never arrived, and Thimble asks if Cid was even at the waiting point. No one knows, but Azune knows a couple of guards who would have been working there and would have seen the carriage, and will be able to question them later. He tells Tear that he knows a way to find out if Cid was there, but if there's another way for him to follow something, another lead, he wants to join. Thimble says that she can check out the Thieves' Guilds if they need to. Loza says that she should definitely bring backup when she goes. She also notes that she's had a long night, and they knew that things were off when the council failed to aid the rebellion. They knew things were bad, but it's gotten a lot worse with the houses moving in. The only house that is trying to slow things down and sort of keep things right is House Royce, and the other houses made Lady Aranessa wait 4 hours and then gave her no audience, so they're sort of on the outs. She also says that she got Teor a way in with Wick and calls him a lamb among lions. She says his family is involved in all of this, they just don't know how. Thimble thinks about what she knows about the Crow Keepers. She rolls a history check and gets 17. She knows the crows are some of the oldest thieves in the city, which is good because it means they're not as dangerous as some of the other ones, as they have a code. They're not reckless and kill people for no reason. She knows a tavern in Caravan Hill called the Guard Tower, and that's where they tend to end. That's where they tend to go. It'll be empty now, but tomorrow it'll be jumping, as Brennan puts it. Octus has one issue, and he asks who Valus is. She introduces herself, and she notes that they tried to stop the execution. She explains that she's here for her Stone of the Night Song, which was likely taken by the Crow Keepers. Thimble asks how Valus found them, and Valus says that she was told, but won't say who told her. Thimble asks who Valus told about all of this, about the stone, but thinks that it might not be even related, as it might have just been something they took. After all, they took literally everything. Loza asks what Thjazi wanted to do with the stone, and Thimble says that she just has a letter that was supposed to go to Belair and doesn't know anymore. Loza suggests Valus work with the others to get the stone back, as they don't seem to really need it, and they can sort of work together on this. Loza says it's time they say goodnight. Teor thanks Hal for everything. Valus asks if she can speak with Thimble alone, and Azuna does the same with Cadigan. Octus tells Pin to follow Valus, and he looks through Pin's eyes. Valus says that she's sorry, and clearly that Thimble cared for Thjazi. She says that she wasn't involved in his death or anything else that happened. Valus thinks that they are both on the same side, and Valus tells Thimble that Belair is the one who led her into the city, and Valus says that she knows Thimble was there when the stone was taken, but also knows that she was a gift and likely had no choice. Thimble actually notes that she has free will, and Thimble tells Valus an elf like her knows their history more than anyone else, and says that she was actually an equal with Thjazi, which is something that's hard to believe for most people of their kind. Thimble apologizes for stealing and losing the stone, and Valus says that she'll find it, it's not a big deal. Valus then rolls perception and gets a 23 and sees Pin walk into the room, and she thinks Pin, in Pin's horribly sewn together way, is very beautiful. Loza asks Teor if he wants someone to be there when he meets Wick, and Teor says no, it's best that he goes alone. Loza then tells Taisha that she's retiring, and she asks Taisha if she wants to tell her grandmother anything. Taisha says no, that she'll handle it eventually. Loza asks if the ancients know that she's working with a Taconis kid. Taisha says no, Thjazi needed the box and she was just thrown together with him, but he's good. Loza says that she trusts him and says that the dead fox means the apple didn't fall far from the tree, which is crazy that someone else does the same shit. Who the hell? Taisha says the noble families are going to come after the rest, and they are running out of allies. Loza asks Cadigan if he's alright, and he says yes, and Cadigan says that she looks rough though. Loza notes that she can't smack Taisha because of her family, but will smack the shit out of him. Loza says that she's going west to her family's farm, and it will do her some good to know the banner is looking out for each other. She then gives Teor a scroll. She notes that they disbanded 12 years ago, but she kept it. Teor opens it up, and it's a half of a banner. Teor asks who he must give this to, and Loza says that she's looking at him, and says that she might not fly it again, but out of everyone that she knows, he'll know when to do so. Loza looks at Thiazi and says some things must go into shadow, but some are too important to be thrown away. Teor thanks her and hopes that the West is befitting of her and the peace there. Loza says that she's going to go crazy, but her knees hurt, which is fucking relatable. Most leave the funeral at this point. Valus goes to leave, and Hal tells her if she brings that level of threat to his family again, that she'll live to regret it. He then hands her a set of pastries instead of shaking her hand, and she walks out. Valus then puts the pastries down on the porch and then goes over to the side of the house and stays there all night long. Everyone leaves except for Travis. Whitney and Sam then join the table. The next morning, we are at the Villa Aurora at the home of the Candescent Creed, the Holivar family. Everything is made of off-white stone, a tower has a glass top, and on it is the symbol of a Candescent Creed. It feels like there's more sunlight here in this part of the city for some reason. Tyranny goes to the front gate, and as she goes, her sister Emily joins her with their other sister, who is stunning, and her name is Cruelty. Crazy. Cruelty asks how things went last night, and Tyranny says that things went well, and they were able to deliver the sword. Cruelty says that it sends a very clear message when a lord shows up to the house of someone they just executed. Cruelty then yells for Agony, the last sister in this terribly sounding group. She has glasses on and falls over as she runs up. Emily asks if Wick aspired to the heights of the Candescent Creed last night. Tyranny says that he feels bad about everything they did, and Cruelty asks if he still believes in the light, and Tyranny says yes. Cruelty says it's important for the face of the house to stay true to the creed, and it has to be fun for him. Tyranny says that she thinks it's fun, he believes, and doesn't want to touch it. Cruelty asks if she's nervous, and Emily points out that she shudders at the approach of catastrophe. Tyranny says that they are here to help, and their guys are better at this than Wick is. Emily asks who they're here to help. Cruelty says the mortal world is more confusing than the pit. Perspective is a good thing to keep, after all. Tyranny says that they're here to help the family and get them to where they are supposed to be. The sisters go to leave, and Emily tells Tyranny to remember who she is and where they came from. Tyranny says that she made a friend, and Agony says good, they can use her to their own ends. Tyranny then eventually reaches the gate by herself and meets Teor there. Teor says that it's good to see her again. Tyranny welcomes him to the home of the CC, as she puts it, which is what I might fucking call for the rest of the campaign, because goddamn, so many names for everything. Teor asks if Wick is well, and Tyranny says that he's resting after a tense day. He seems a little shaken. Teor wants to talk to Wick to sort of shed light on things that happen and talk about how it can be avoided from happening again in the future. Tyranny then runs to get Wick at his office, and Wick seems disheveled, and his mantle is on backwards. His office is also a mess. Wick says that he has never had so many people hate him in one room before. She says that it was a good thing that she got them out of there quickly. Wick agrees, but says that her job is to protect, observe, and obey. She must remember to POO, as he puts it. Tyranny thanks him for that wisdom and says that the big guy wants to talk to him out front. Wick recalls Teor and asks what he is meant to do with him. Tyranny suggests to try to convey what the plan was supposed to be, and Wick thinks that Teor will offer his blade, and he will try to find something for Teor to do. As they're talking, they hear a large crash outside. Outside, Teor watches a wagon with boxes on it, trying to drive up the driveway, and one of the boxes falls off and lands on a man, breaking open and breaking his leg. A yellow liquid then comes out of it and burns the man. Teor quickly and without issue picks up the box and just throws it away. He then heals the man. Wick watches this light sort of leave Teor, and in that moment the clouds part a little bit and Teor is bathed in sunlight. Wick stumbles a little bit seeing this, and in classic Travis fashion, he says that Teor like turns and his hair like flows in the wind a little bit. Wick thinks that he is also touched by the light, and Wick asks what happened. Teor picks up the man, and the man asks if he is of the light. Teor says that he's an ally of the light. Teor asks what he's moving, and Wick says that's actually not important. The man says that he can still work and is a little bit scared of Wick and gets back to work. Teor says that he must be a good man to work for in a very sarcastic way that Wick completely misses. Tyranny says the best, also kind of sarcastic. Teor and Wick shake hands and reintroduce themselves. Teor squeezes Wick's hand tightly, potentially willing to break his hand if he wants to. Teor wants to talk about what made Wick so upset last night. Wick thinks they'll be able to assist each other and hopes that he can give him some work. Teor says that he and his friends have been hurt by this loss, and he followed the light to Wick, and he hopes that he's found someone to help guide the others to the light. Wick tells Tyranny that you can carry yourself with respect and others will follow. She must always carry herself with self-respect. They make their way up to Wick's office, and Teor takes his shield and flail off, and they're very heavy. Wick asks how he met Thiazi, and Teor says that he fought in the rebellion with him, and after that they went their separate ways. He came back with Loza to meet up with Thiazi and Sid, his brother. He asks if Wick knows Sid, and Wick rolls a history check and gets a 16. Wick doesn't know much about the rebellion or Sid. He knows the banner on Teor because he's wearing it, and he knows that Teor fought against his family. Wick asks if Teor still holds ill will towards the houses, and Teor says no, that's behind him, and there is a new power in charge now anyway. Wick says that they are to bury old hatchets and move forward with friendship. This includes Tyranny and her sisters. The light can burn through any shadow, he notes. There's a small knock at the door, and then it opens. The Photarch, Wick's grandmother, walks in. I'm hopefully saying Photarch right, and probably not. Wick holds himself up a lot sturdier than he was before. His grandmother says they need to talk, and then she sees Teor. She heard that he helped a man outside. She asks him if he is one of their faithful, and Teor says that their creed is new to him, but he heard about it from outside the city, and he journeyed here to learn more. Deception check, he rolls a 5. She looks at him, and she thinks that it's wonderful that their light reaches people outside the city. She notes that Loza Blade had made an appointment with Wick. Wick says that she vouched for Teor. Wick's grandmother says the Taconis family believes there's danger in the city and thinks that upping security is a good idea. Wick says that he can defend himself, but his grandmother thinks that it's better off that they have more. Teor says that Loza is a fan of the house and wants to put his name forward in protection of Wick. Wick's grandmother suggests that Tyranny takes Teor to Sir Felonius, the head of security, to get things all settled. Teor and Tyranny head out. The door closes behind, and Wick is alone with his grandmother. She tells him to get rid of Teor. He's clearly an enemy, and he is up to something. She notes that Loza was also an enemy. They fought on opposite sides of the war. She says that they should hang those traitors. Wick thought that they should let bygones be bygones. After all, forgiveness is part of the creed. His grandmother says that there are no bygones. Their family are the only second to the royal house of, and I'm going to butcher this name, Obrid Mia. They were golden crowned, and then the Shaper War tore that all apart. Now they have wastelands, magic, chaos, and eternal night. That's the thanks they got for killing the gods. And now a torn banner walks in and asks about Thiazi. She says that this plan has been a mistake, and Wick asks about what plan she's talking about. He thought that they were about forgiveness and that they should spare Thiazi to show their goodness. He asks why they couldn't spare his life, and she says that the Taconis house is moving and they need to keep up. They are their allies, which means that they are in close range to their knives and they can be stabbed in the back. She asks how they are so strong after everything that's happened. Thiazi needed to die because they wanted him dead. She still can't see what exactly the Taconises are doing, and she wants to. She says that she betrayed Wick and she wanted him to walk in the light, but even that light casts a shadow. But now she'll fix this mistake. She tells him that tonight he'll learn the truth. She leaves, and the table then changes. Matt, Robbie, Marisha, Talzin, and Luis are at the table now. We start at the Arcanad, the museum Belair works at. It's made of a flawless, smooth gray stone, made by the druids of the old path that were nearly killed off by the gods. The Loy family crafted the pariah blades, the weapons that were used to kill the gods. The Loy wing is actually dedicated to the family and the revolutionary history. Belair is in this wing. He works there, and he is the curator of it. The pariah blade is in the middle. There's a magic recording that plays when you get close to the exhibit. The blade is a cold iron blade, simple and dull, forged with no flames, just purely raw material. In an office off to the side, there is a desk with a coffin on it. Belair and Murray work through the night, and they have papers stacked on paper. Just tons of paper all over the place. Murray casts Identify on the coffin. They say fuck it and choose to open it, as they'll learn more if they do, and they open it with a mage hand. The mist comes out and Identify covers the entire box. It's not as ancient as they once thought. It was made together and constructed more recently. The silver plates are very old, though. There's a bit of lining still there. They roll Arcana check on the lining, and they know that the wood from the box, or what was made out of the box, is actually from trees from the wastelands where the goddess of life died. The spell translates the silver plates, and it says on the coffin that it is the coffin of Albalad. He is a celestial who is called... She is the celestial who is called the Sister of Mist. The halfling angel of death that guided them through the veil. This is now the coffin of Albalad. It wasn't always this way, but it is what it is now. Murray knows after the gods died that they learned that many things were on Ahriman before the gods arrived. Fairies, demons, and even giants walked this planet before, but they were killed off by the gods. Some beings were called here by the gods, however, and those beings were the Celestials. The Celestials went feral when the gods died, and to see one in the wild is to see death. The coffin claims to be the coffin of that Celestial. Belair tries to find any dust remains of whatever was within the coffin. Dexterity check of 15. He reaches forward with his tool and pushes to where the coffin should be ending, but it hasn't ended yet. And he chooses to drop the tool within, waits 30 seconds to hear any sound, but there is no sound. It seems to be a bottomless void at this point. Belair thinks that they need to put a familiar within the box, and Murray actually agrees. They both know some people who can. Murray wonders what Thiazi wanted with this, and she notes that the connection between the Shaper's War and Valus, who also wanted a stone from the same time period. What did Thiazi need for, these things for? Belair says that he would get artifacts for Thiazi, and that Thiazi would send Belair things in return for him to look at. Belair says Thiazi would send questionable objects to him, and then he'd send them off to people without question. He would do some dirty work for Thiazi. He says that it doesn't matter at this point, as he's gone. Murray agrees, and they agree to get more information. Murray is going to head off to the Penteveral. Belair goes off to his off-limits part of the Loy wing. He thinks about how Taisha said there was a mask within the box. He moves to the cargo area and sees that there's boxes that weren't there the day before. He opens them and looks inside, and there seems to be some sort of ceramic pots that have paint inside of them. There's a note that says that it's for Hal with all my love. Belair reseals it and then goes to his private office. He starts looking through books about the coffin, and he reads for a few hours in his very unique way of a magic thing flips a page after he stares at it for a while. Meanwhile, horses with soldiers pull a carriage towards a building. From inside the carriage steps out a golden plate-breasted wearing person wearing a crest of the House Davanos and the Royce crest. A scarred-up man, described with a silver mustache and goatee. He is at a house of companionship, and the man yells Julian. Julian wakes up and crawls out of bed and crawls over his two companions to get out. He eventually makes his way down to his father, and he is met with salutes from the soldiers, but his father yells to not salute to him. Julian asks what brings him here, and Raymond says that he went to his room at the house that he pays for, where the lady, of whom her husband was just executed. So you'd think that Julian would not be far off, but he was far off. Julian asks him how it feels to be wrong yet again. Raymond goes to strike him and take his glove off, but as he's taking it off, he calms down and tells Julian to get in the carriage. Julian gets in and the carriage takes off. Raymond looks at Julian. Raymond isn't happy with his habits, and it seems to be the same habits in every city. The world is not just entirely brothels. Julian says that maybe one day Raymond will show him through all of his pride. Raymond says that the resupply carriage didn't make it to the estate and asks if Julian knows anything about it. Julian says no. Raymond asks what he learned at the funeral, and Julian says there were tears, war stories, people with strong opinions on Thiazi. He's surprised that Raymond wasn't there given their storied history. They were thick as thieves, as Julian puts it. Raymond says that Thjazi saved Julian's cousin in the War of Axe and Vine, and it was a tragedy they ended up on opposite sides during the rebellion. Julian says that every man makes their choices. He's sorry that he was the consequences of his. Raymond wanted Julian to see what it was like to live a life filled with honor. Julian says that he saw a man who didn't have any anymore. He hopes that Aranessa got closure for what Thjazi did to her. Raymond doesn't understand why Julian hates him. He captured him and got his honor off of Thjazi, yet he still hates the man. Julian says that he was set up for a golden path only for his father to throw it away for friendship with that man. It was his glory, but Raymond sullied everything. He won't forgive him for what he did to his father and to Aranessa. Raymond says men do make their own choices. Maybe one day he'll take an interest as to why they do. They get to the Davos estate. They enter a dry room and see a panicked Aranessa. She says the wagons are days away from where they should be, the resupply wagons. Raymond wonders why the rear guard didn't say anything. Aranessa says that she trusts Julian with this information. Raymond says that there was a plot to rescue Thjazi, and the Taconuses are searching for a member of their own family who might know something about this plan. He might be against his family, and it's best that they find him first so they can learn anything they can. Aranessa says that it would be good to find him as he is in danger. Julian is to find him and bring him here so they can learn if he's involved, and if he's not, they will be able to vouch for him. Raymond asks if they should postpone the gala tonight, and Aranessa says no, appearances are everything. It should be as big as possible. Raymond asks if Julian will be able to do this job, and Julian says yes. Raymond says, "Good, you are my oldest son," and then splashes him with water. And then he says to Julian to get to it. Julian heads out, and then we jump outside the city where we find Cadigan in the woods outside of Dol Machiar. He had a rough night. He was still a little drunk. He thinks of last night, and the memories are foggy as he did a lot of drinking. He is lost again and doesn't know what to do with himself. But he thinks of Thimble and how upset she was when she heard the news of Thjazi. He does a hand gesture to Wulfric, which means to find the pixie. Wulfric bolts off into the woods, and Cadigan follows. Survival check of 13. He sees that they're heading back towards the city, and he looks up to the Grey Tower in the city, which is where the Revolutionary Council meets, and a falcon flies towards it. He thinks of Hal and Hero playing the song they played last night and thinks of Thimble's grief. He knows that grief can destroy someone and that it's the last thing Thjazi would want. He heads towards Hal's place. Before we go back to Hal's home, however, we go to the Brethren Hall, the home of the Revolutionary Guard, the warriors defending the legacy of the Shapers' War. Azune walks in and starts his morning routine. He suits up and replays the events of the day before, caught up between things that he wants to do and things that he should do. He casts Detect Magic as that's a part of his job to make sure there's no magical anomalies. He thinks of his patrol and he'll have to get it changed to go to where he wants to today. He knows the Revolutionary Guard here is to protect the people during the war initially, and then it was supposed to be done for peacekeeping. But now it's to protect people from magic and to detect magic. He also has to inform people of changing laws where people can practice magic and where they can't now, which a year ago wasn't a big deal. He walks into his captain's office. Adrian Fazir, one of the arcane marshals. Someone is already in the office and with him. It is Sir Harondus, N. Fasten, I believe is how you pronounce the name, of the Chamber of Lord Advisory. The captain looks at Azune. He says that it's good to see him and asks if he has ever met N. Fasten before. Azune does recognize him, though they've never actually met, and they shake hands. And Fasten notes that Azune was at the execution and was actually posted right near Thjazi. He says Thjazi was a complicated person with many people on both sides thinking either positively or negatively of him. And Fasten wants to offer the guards here resources. He's seen that the resources have been low for them and thinks that the Revolutionary Guard has served alone in protecting the people for far too long. He says that some offices of the Revolutionary Guard can be closed to bolster other offices. He thinks the Arcane Marshals are a necessary one. Azune agrees, and Fasten says that if they need anything, they can just call in his house. Azune asks what would happen to the resources of the closed offices, and Fasten says that they'll be split to the other offices. He says that the arcane marshals can do what others can't, detecting magic, whereas the patrols and the gate duty, that's not necessary for them. He says that he will be the head overseer of security for jobs like that. Azune looks forward to working with him, and Fasten says that they do important work and they have his family's backing. Azune is suspicious of this man and tries to read how power-hungry he is, and rolls an insight and gets a natural 20. He can tell this man is coming here with respect and zeal, which does actually make him dangerous. He can't see any malice within him, but he does get the sense of course I should be in charge. And Fasten then leaves, and the captain nervously says that they're getting a bonus. It seems that the Sundered Houses can't detect magic with their eyes quite yet. Azune hopes that it stays that way. The captain actually informs Azune that in Fasten will be going to the Pentaveret later, so that's going to be an issue. Azune gets concerned by this, but he goes to the schedule and switches his name with the person who is patrolling the Keeper's area, so he can go there. And he sets off for Caravan Hill. We then go to the Pentaveret. It's a beautiful set of colorful buildings, which is rare in this city. It's a college with a bunch of sky bridge for familiars, so they can connect buildings and send messages through that. There's a pentagram with glyphs on it. Murray is moving forward and sees a young gnomish student named Galliant, who tells Murray that they just fired Tall Barrel. This confuses Murray, and she asks who did it. The boy lists off the names of the Sundered Houses. Murray then runs off and comes to an office with a big desk made of red wood. This office is very ornate by description. On top of that desk is also a smaller desk, and sitting at that smaller desk is the Dean Tall Barrel. He is a halfling with white curly hair. Murray asks what they did to him, and Tall Barrel apologizes. Murray says that she thought that he'd stand up to these houses, and Tall Barrel says that he doesn't believe that they can do what they need to do here anymore. He hands Murray a letter saying that the license to cast magic on campus has been revoked, and then notes that they won't revoke it if Tall Barrel resigns, and they prefer Cora be the head dean. Murray notes that of course they do. She is in their pockets. Murray calls all of this crazy, and it's crazy to ban magic at a magic school. Tall Barrel says that the Lord's advisory doesn't think it's necessary for them to cast magic to learn about it. Murray says that's crazy. Tall Barrel asks Murray what happens to the next set of students that come in if they can't cast spells. Murray says that she's upset by this and thinks that Tall Barrel could have done more. Tall Barrel asks if it would have been better if he had lightning bolted the Photarch of the Candescent Creed. Murray says that would have been epic. Tall Barrel is concerned that Murray considered that. Murray says that it's a slippery slope and is getting slipperier, and the Sundered Houses are the ones pouring the soap down the slippery hill. She lost that analogy, but Murray asks who's going to go to bat for her now that Tall Barrel will be gone. Tall Barrel gave her, a dwarf that came from the gutter, a chance. Tall Barrel says this place was built on people like Murray, even the original 5 founders. Tall Barrel says bravery is a part of wizardry, and he is not a warrior nor a politician. He can cast spells, but he turned around and saw that there was something more powerful. Murray says this place isn't going to be for anyone anymore. It'll be for the wealthy people. The Sundered Houses will just keep taking, just like they took the Aussie, and now they'll take Tall Barrel. Tall Barrel says that he's spent his whole life looking for answers, and on his last day here, he has none. They hear someone coming. Murray hugs Tall Barrel, and a dwarven woman opens the door in Dean robes. She says that there is a man here to see Tall Barrel. A grave-looking man walks in. He is Lord Primus Teconus. He says that he's looking for his son and believes he studies here at the school. The table clears out, and Alex, Abria, Laura, and Liam join the table. Thimble is asleep on Theazi. Hal barely slept and went to Taisha's room, who also barely slept. Hal says that he's glad that she's here. He says that he's been anxious and thought that someone would try to get Theazi out of what was happening. He made his own plan, but it all fell apart. Taisha says that their plans failed as well. Hal says all of the people who were here, he can only trust Taisha. Taisha says most everyone here loved Theazi. She doesn't know why Julian and Valus came. Hal says that Azune let them talk in the end, and he says that he saw something, and he also said that Belair has paint for him, and that he has to look after Thimble and Murray. Hal says that there's a lot and he doesn't know how much trouble has come to his house. Tysha says that they need to put Thjazi to rest and then figure out what to do from that point on. They know Thimble was jumped by someone with feathers. Thjazi had a lot of irons and a lot of fires, so there's a lot to go over. Hal asks what the box is for, and Tysha says that she doesn't know. She didn't ask questions, but she was told not to open it. She told Octus not to open it a bunch, and then she goes and does it. She brought danger to his house. Hal says danger was always around Thjazi, and Tysha notes that he did a good job of not bringing it back home to Hal. Hal says they have a lot to do, and he wants Tysha to spend a bit of time with Sadia. Sadia says that hearing Hal and Hero play their music last night, it made her miss everything that she missed, but it also reminded her that they need to fix this world. Hal says that they'll do what they can, and they head downstairs. Thimble wakes up. The bad dream didn't end, unfortunately. She had braided his hair a little bit, and she took some of the treasures that people had left for him. It needs to find a use anyway. She left some pixie dust around him and says that they'll find out who did this, and the dust lights up. At the door, they hear some claws hitting the wood, and a head pops in through the window. It is Wulfric. Robbie joins the table, and Cadigan arrives. The wolf jumps through the window, and Cadigan climbs in after him. Everyone questions why he didn't use the door, and Cadigan simply says that he follows the dog. Hal gives Cadigan some food, and he devours it by his hands. Octa stops looking through Pin and joins everyone else downstairs. Thimble knows they need to get going to meet the crows. Hal asks why Cadigan is here, and Thimble says that he's going to help. Cadigan says that he will help Thimble, and Thimble says that he's actually a perfect fit for all of this, as she needs backup. Cadigan asks for a refresher on everything that happened, and they fill him in on what's going on. Hal notes that Cadigan fought with Thjazi during the war. Cadigan wants to pay his respects before he goes, and he goes over to Thjazi. He sees the mischievous smile on Thjazi's face and casts Spare the Dying on him just in case he's still alive, and this is all a grand plan of his. Cadigan rolls insight and gets a dirty 20. He can tell the spell didn't take hold, and he thinks that the smile on Thjazi's face is actually the fact that he tricked people into believing that he could have planned all of this. Cadigan sees him surrounded by treasures and thinks that for a life lived by a mortal, this is the best one can hope for. Cadigan says it's too bad and they should get going. Thimble asks Octus to come with them and asks if it's too dangerous for him. Octus says yes, he can go, and changes his appearance to look similar to Cadigan's. Hal says that he's going to go to Murray and Belair. Thimble hands Hal the letter to Belair. Hal says that he was able to talk to Thjazi at the end and Thjazi told him to tell Thimble not to be afraid. Thimble notes that Azune lied to her about saying something, that Thjazi lied about saying something to her, but this one's true. Thjazi thought the world of Thimble. Thimble calls him stupid, and she's never afraid. The three head out to go to Caravan Hill. They make it there, and it looks like the circus has just left. They enter the tavern, and there's two sketchy-looking individuals inside who offer Thimble a drink. Thimble looks into their eyes to see if they recognize her, which they don't. Thimble asks where Kaz is. From behind the bar, they hear someone say, send her in, and a man steps out. He's an older-looking man with a long black coat. People call him Solomon. He says it's good to see Thimble again and asks who she's looking for, and she says that she's looking for Kaz. She asks if they've seen him in the last few days. Persuasion check of 5. It's time to roll initiative. Thimble, a 25, Octus, a 21, and Cadigan, a 12. Thimble hears the sounds of a sack moving for her from behind. As that happens, the table clears. We can then cut to Sam and Whitney, who join the table. Taylor has left, and a few meetings have happened throughout Wick's day. He went to a handful of temples and takes care of a few things. He makes sure that the shipments of the liquid from before made it to the proper places, and he is teaching Tyranny about the Creed and the Light. He explains that they are just vessels riding along the river of light, and they've actually solved the secrets of light and can make it into a filament liquid. Tyranny asks how, and Wick says that it's important to their faith and can empower them. Tyranny notes that he didn't answer the question, and he says that he does know how it's done, and he says that one can actually drink the filament, and it can be made into tattoos, much like the ones on his face. She asks where it came from, and he says from the universe. Tyranny asks what Wick thought of Taor, and he says that he seemed very powerful and wielded the light. Tyranny asks if they can trust him, And Wick says that he did, but his grandmother told him that they need to get rid of him, but thinks that he couldn't do it himself, like he wouldn't be able to, but thinks maybe Tyranny could. She thinks that she can, but she doesn't really want to, and neither does Wick. A knock hits their door, and Wick's father and Emily walk into the room. He tells his father, Wick's father, tells him to come, and they walk out of the door again. Wick and Tyranny follow. Tyranny asks Emily what's happening, and Emily says the Photarch, I hope I'm fucking saying that right, I'm probably not, has made a choice, and that they will no longer have to keep secrets. They spoke in their demon language, and Wick is a little upset by this. They head downstairs, and Emily says that Wick's father is happy to show Wick the inner workings of the prismatic retort. Wick is excited by this. The prismatic retort is what they use to make the light into liquid. Wick is excited to get his promotion, as he puts it, and Tyranny seems indifferent to all of this. They head down the stairs and they see a double door with a symbol of the Condescent Creed on it. The celestial writing on it talks about a false god of the sun, Tansul. The door opens and a beam of light comes through. Inside this first room is 2 chained massive warhounds that bark at Wick, and they seem to cast a dispel magic in this room. Tyranny is locked onto Wick. The war dogs have golden plates covering their eyes. They walk further and there's another door that opens up. Wick is excited to see the light. Tyranny apologizes for being difficult to work with for the last few months, and Wick says that she's made great progress and can't wait to do more. The Photarch greets Wick. She's wearing simple clothing this time around. They are in a cathedral-like basement room, and in this room is a 40-foot tall sarcophagus with stones and runes all over it. There are also tubes going into it for some reason. The Photarch says that her love for Wick has been true, but there are things that she's told him that wasn't true. So he may feel rattled or unsure in a couple minutes. So she wants him to hold on to the love that, everything else will be okay, because everything else will go away. He says that he does love her too, and she notes that his ability to use the light is a gift, and Wick says yes, it's a gift from the cosmos, and they must all carry the light from the creed. She says it's not from the cosmos or from the creed, but a gift for their family. She tells Wick's father to open the retort. He takes his blindfold off, and 2 beams of light come from his eyes, and the beams funnel into the retort. He chants a celestial incantation, and the sarcophagus opens up, and light comes out of it. Strength saves from Wick and Tyranny. Tyranny rolls a 20, and Wick rolls a 15. Wick is thrown 10 feet back, and Wick's father then puts his blindfold back on. The sarcophagus isn't a sarcophagus, it's actually an Iron Maiden. An angel is chained up within it, and there are taps like going into a maple tree sticking out of it where the tubes go into. Blood then gushes out from it. The angel roars in pain, and the Photarch says, Wick, I would like you to meet your grandfather, and the session ends here. So there you have it, episode 2 of campaign 4, and this one was rather interesting. We learned a lot about like some character dynamics, and we learned about a little bit more about like how the houses sort of like the Sundered houses sort of interact with each other. So we're learning a lot of lore stuff, a lot of like political stuff, which can be intriguing, can be interesting. I also like that we're slowly learning about this city, and I'm hoping that we get like a map eventually of this city so that we can be like, oh, that's where that is, and that's where that is. Because I think that would be a really like interesting way for us to have, like, we should have these resources, in my opinion, right? So we can look at the map and be like, okay, that's where this character is, that's where this character is. Especially if that's what this campaign is going to look a lot like. We should have these resources like at our disposal to look at so that we know. But that's just me. That's just my thought. Otherwise, I thought this was a really fun episode. I liked learning about more of the character backstories and like what they do as their jobs, which was really fun. Like I like learning about Belair. I like learning about Murray, and I like learning about Azune. Specifically learning about Belair and Murray was really cool because we didn't get a whole lot of them last time. So this time it's nice that they get more done for them. And I'm super excited to learn more about Wick. Some of you were right. It seems he is part celestial, which is really interesting, and I'm excited to learn more about that. And I think that leans me into more thinking that he's going to be like Divine Soul Sorcerer, I believe is what the class is called. So that's interesting because I feel like with his innate ability to cast magic, that just instantly says Sorcerer to me. And with him being part Celestial, that just says Divine Soul. That's just me. Who knows? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.